I knew this would be the funnest part of my day, and it's proven to be that already.
So everyone, just wanted to welcome you. This is Gary Pia, the Gary Pia Show, as it were. And what I wanted to do with this is I wanted to introduce you to some people that I know that I think you should know. And one of those people is my friend and colleague, Glenn Crawford. And I'm going to bring him on right now, and we're going to have a little conversation with Glenn. Hey, Glenn, how are you, man?
Oh, if I was any better, I'd have your hand, Gary. How's that?
And now y'all know why I like Glenn. He makes me laugh. It's great to have you on here today. I want you all to know that I've known Glenn now, what is it, about a couple of years. We've been bumping around together. We met through a men's dinner group in South Pasadena called the Oneonta Club. And another of my friends brought Glenn in as a guest, and he looked around the room and said, "This looks like my tribe. I want to hang out here." So it's been great to have you there, Glenn, and thank you for taking your time to join me today.
I'm honored and pleased, and as I was, we had a little fun getting it together and getting my mic on. But I already woke up knowing what the best part of my day would be, and it's to be here with you today, Gary. So thank you so much.
Well, you're very kind to say that, but I know that's not true because Seville's going to be cooking dinner for you later today, and that's going to be the best part of your day.
Well, yes, it's tough to compete with that. I'll be sure and let her know to see this, that she was mentioned.
For those of you who don't know, Glenn and Seville got married, what is it, about a year or so ago? You two?
Yeah, we got married in COVID, May 23rd. So we're just, over a year of being newlyweds now.
And I have been watching numerous posts of Seville's culinary wizardry, and with Glenn waxing eloquent about the wonderful meals that she prepares. I mean, is this something she's been doing a long, long time, or is that your relationship just inspired this in her?
Oh my goodness, I wish that was it, but you were so kind, to bring her up, and she'll be thrilled. So, we're not complicated. If living is if eating is a part of living, then, I'm living, really well. If that's one thing that brings couples together, then we have that. But the first time I went to dinner at her place, first off, she's always immaculate. She's dressed immaculate, and the table is set immaculately. And, she's cooking, and she tells me she never is afraid to cook. And actually, I do private events where she's cooked for 100 people herself in a little, kitchen. She said she's never been afraid to cook, but she was nervous that night when I was coming over for the first time. So there had to be something there.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, she developed it, as all through life as a young adult, and she cooks basically, any part of the world that you live in, she can cook that way. And it's just something that she loves. It's a labor of love, for her, and it is a tremendous, just a tremendous thing to live with somewhere every day. She did say one thing, Gary, though. She said, "Look, I'll never." Because I'm looking at her, I'm going, "Man, is this how you do it? Like all the time? Do you lay it out like this? I mean, the appetizer, entree, dessert, the whole thing." And she goes, "I'll never complain about cooking. Okay, but you got to do one thing." I said, "What's that?" She said, "You got to take me out. You got to take me out for dinner. We're going to get dressed up once a week, at the most twice a week. We're going to get dressed up. We're going to go out on a date night. You're not going to see me in the kitchen, all the time, even though she never wears pants. She's always wearing slacks and dressed up. But and she said, you're running around in your little suit or whatever and seeing people dressed up. So we're going to go and have fun." So I figured that was a pretty easy trade-off, other than being, my first job where I got a check was as a dishwasher in a mall cafeteria, actually in El Paso, Texas. And so I have mad dishwashing skills. So
excellent. That's a good match.
I'll put in a plug before we go on. If anybody wants to learn about cooking, and also it's really about taking care of the one you love. Sweet Zivile, ZIVILE.com, and there's some good tips there for couples.
Wait a minute. What's that again? Sweet?
Sweet, ZIVILE.com. www.sweetzaville.com.
At one L or two?
One L. ZIVILE. That's so cool.
All right. Well, did I get that right?
You got it absolutely right. Thank you.
All right. So we'll just leave that up for a little bit and give a big shout out to Zaville. It sounds like a real, an inspired pairing, you two, a woman who can make meals and a man who can make reservations.
Exactly. And you will be over now that we're out of COVID. You will be over, you and your wife will be over for a fine meal, at our offering. So that's going to be a fun night.
Well, we can wrap up now because my secret agenda for the night has been completed. I've got the dinner invitation, so I'm good. So Glenn, one of the things we found out about each other is that we both work in the world of helping people with finances, different parts of the same sandbox, but still in that world. I was wondering if you could complete this sentence for me.
Sure.
Money is important because.
Oh my goodness. That's a great question. Money is important because it helps build the quality of life you will have and your ability to help others. It won't alleviate any problem that you might confront, but it will make your quality of life and your ability to help others dramatically. It will dramatically affect that ability. That's why I would say money is important. It can't buy you happiness. It doesn't make you better than the next man. You can't take anything with you when you go. But in this life, one of the biggest things that I imagine you see, Gary, and I have people that have tremendous means and they worry about running out of money. And now a lot of people are oblivious and don't pay attention to what I say is the biggest game of your life, your financial well-being game plan, the one you have to get right, the one you don't get a second chance for. Many people are living day to day and week to week and month to month. I believe that you're the president, the trustee, and the chief fiduciary of the bank of you. And whether you go to work for Northrop for 30 years or you own a corner liquor store, you run a balance sheet. And that's why I'm just so thrilled. I mean, Gary and I became friends before we knew that, we helped each other in the world of financial wellness through this men's club that I mentioned. Some of you may not know, but Gary has a tremendous voice and leads us in song every week, is in charge of, picking the song. He's a cool guy. I, as part of my passion, play guitar. So we had that in common. And then I found that the gentlemen that were in this club, which you may or may not imagine, they don't all look like me, but they were very welcoming and very accepting, and just very cool guys, and on the merit of someone walking through the door on their own merit. And I believe that if you walk in any room with respect and the right intention, that you'll be accepted in that room. Now, I'm a son of an Army brat, so I lived all over the country and all around all kinds of people, and I've never not been able to go where I wanted to go if I had the right intention, and the right respect.
The thing that was interesting to me, one of the first things you said when I asked you, money is important because, is you mentioned how money gives you the opportunity to help others. And that's very, very cool. Tell me, in your life, I mean, I'm always interested in people who've gravitated towards financial services and helping others in that arena. What What is your earliest memory of money?
You see, I'm smiling. My earliest memory of money, and I had a great examples of people in my life to aspire to that gave me an appreciation for money. But my first memory of money would be when I was a kid, and I'm 66 young, Gary. And when I was a kid, you could go get a Coke bottle or a Fanta bottle or a Sprite bottle, and you could take it down to the corner store, and you get a nickel for it. And with a nickel, you could buy a
deposit and return it to get the deposit back.
You get a nickel for that thing. If you found 4 or 5 bottles around on the street, you had some money, because you could buy a roll of Cherry Lifesavers for 5 cents. I'm dating myself.
You're bringing up another topic that I'm going to come back to. But so for you, it was the aha moment that if I could exchange this bottle, the soda bottle, and they would give me money, and that I could in turn buy Lifesavers with it.
There you go. I was in business from that time, and I was 5 at the most. I think I was 4, to tell you the truth.
And the light went off.
But I know at the latest it was 5, because I lived in Seattle, Washington, where I was born, and we moved when I was 5.
Yeah.
I have very strong recollections of doing that. So the idea of, you're right, of really, I was providing a service.
Yep.
Providing a service, and I got compensated for the service, and with that, I had the ability, to do something I wanted to do with it, and that was very evident to me from day one.
So, kind of in connection with that, what if you could take us back? What was the first experience that you had in your life where you realized that you had the power to do something meaningful?
That's a great question. I got to tell you, from early on, I believed that I was going to do great things. From early on, from even 5 and before, because I had mentors. My dad was a officer in the Army. He was college educated. He was good looking. He was intelligent. He was measured in his speaking and manner. And so I knew by looking at him and the men who would come to our house that hung with him, well, that's what I'm going to be educated, and I'm going to be, athletic.
You had good role models.
Exactly. So, so the question was,
you had good role models, and you had people that you could look up to and say, I want to be like that. But there's a point that comes where, yes, I aspire to that, but now I've had this experience that lets me know, yes, I can do that. What was that experience for you?
Well, again, I really was like on the playground. I was the big brother on the playground. In the class, I was one of the smarter kids in the class. I was always the fastest kid in the class. So being the fastest when you're young right away, gives you just a lot of, confidence, in things, right? And so I was always I was expected to do well. I expected myself to do well. And that carried out, really through my whole life. I can remember, taking a bath and remembering to the Beatles or the Stones or James Brown or something when I was a kid, going, man, okay, those guys are doing something. I'm going to do something big. And you may or may not know, Gary, I was a pretty fair athlete once upon a time. I did play on a undefeated college football team, right?
Yeah,
and
you were Arizona State Sun Devil.
Yep, thank you. I thought I was put on earth to be the best wide receiver who ever lived. And I'm going to tell you right now, in my heart of heart, I still believe I'm the best wide receiver you've never seen. And no one can dispute that. So I'm going with that. But so I believed I had this. And when I truly realized that no matter what I did, I would be able to make an impact, was in college, and playing football for one of the toughest coaches who ever lived, who made you question your ability, your faith. And at about 19, I learned that your faith is nothing unless it's truly been tested, unless you had a question of faith. Your faith in your God or your love or your ability to do something, unless you really was driven to the point where you had the question, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. But if you look deep in your heart and said, this is who I am, period. No matter what happens, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. That is really when I truly, truly cemented that no matter what came at me in life, that I would be able to handle it and I would do it and do it well. Is that?
That's powerful stuff right there. Very powerful stuff. Now you mentioned already who inspired you. You spoke of your dad and the people that he hung out with. Fast forward to today. Who do you admire?
Today, that's living today. Is that a qualifier?
You don't have to necessarily be living today, but who do you admire?
Okay. Let me see. Well, as I mentioned, my mom and my dad were first, and so I had that. So I had great, mom teaches you your character, and maybe my dad, and not that my mom didn't work, but my dad's work ethic and his manner and everything never raised his voice to me, never put a hand on me. Now I remember seeing him in his uniform, and I remember at 9 he went to Vietnam, and I was old enough to know what war meant. And so I'm like, well, this dude went to Vietnam. I'm not messing with him because mom would already, beat my butt. So I got enough of that. But other people that, that might be known, of course, I love John Kennedy. I remember when John Kennedy, was shot. I loved Martin Luther King. I love the words that he spoke. I'm a guy, I believe in hope, not despair. I believe in inclusivity, not exclusivity. I believe in integration, not segregation. I believe in being progressive, not stagnant in time, right? I believe I have hope. I'm one of these guys, maybe it comes from my sports or my years of coaching, whatnot. I believe we can win. I believe we're more alike than we are different if we just give each other a little bit of a chance. And but other names that I'll throw out there besides John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, what's my man's name from he was a senator from New York. Malcolm X, Santana, Hendricks, Muhammad Ali, Jim Rohn, who was a tremendous motivator. Les Brown was a tremendous, motivator. Great Jackie Robinson, great athletes, great people who overcame things, and then lived their own life. They weren't defined by society or groups. And one thing, and I'll finish this question. One thing I remember my dad taught me, he said, son, don't ever do anything that you don't agree with just because the group, don't let the group define your action. Be true to yourself. Whatever it is that, that you believe in, don't, just follow that path and just be that, period. Maybe you haven't noticed I am a man of color. Actually, we're all men of color. Okay. All right.
It's all color, right?
Yeah. When I walk into a room, I don't ever walk into a room. Now, again, I'm proud of who I am and proud of my history and proud of my people. But I don't ever walk in a room saying that, gee, I'm a black man in this room. I got to act different or someone has to treat me different. I can be a black man and a proud black man, but first, I'm a man. And I'll go anywhere on God's green earth, the same as any other, man would do, and walk in the room with my head, knowing I'm as good as anyone. So anyway.
Let me ask you this, if I may. Is there a particular book that you would recommend others read? If there was one book and you're going to tell me about it and that I should read, what would you recommend that book be?
Well, Well, the first one that comes to my mind actually would be The Four Agreements by Ruiz.
Great
That's the
book.
first one that would come to mind. Have you read that book?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and it's basically about removing judgments. Removing judgments of other people and not allowing other people's judgments to define you or influence you.
Let me ask you this. One of the things that I had to learn was that I had to be able to remove my contempt of new things before I investigated them.
Hmm. That's a strong word.
Contempt prior to investigation gets in the way of a lot of good people doing good things.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So I know that you're a man that has a lot of different interests, because I know in your background you went from college athlete, you were an entrepreneur, you got in on the expansion of personal computers and networking and built up a company, so you're an entrepreneur. You then transitioned right out of that into becoming a financial advisor. So you don't do those kinds of things without having a lot of inquisitiveness and curiosity. So what are you curious about today?
Sheesh. Well, it wouldn't be, I'll give you two things real quick. Well, one, again, I mentioned I'm 66. I lived a lot of different places. I lived in a lot of different communities around all kinds of people.
So you're going to do that if your father is military. You're going to move around a lot.
Not just on bases though, where it's eclectic. I moved in places where it was all one class or type of person, and then I moved in other places where it's all hillbillies. Got along everywhere. But one thing that I scratch my head about again is that I'm 66 years old, and and we still pick up the paper every day and we read about the differences that people seem to have, or they're willing to fight for, or they're willing to stand for. And to me, it just seems much easier if we look for ways to get along rather than ways to differentiate ourselves. Period. And I'm a bit saddened that I have grown young kids that are dealing with some of the same things that I might have dealt with as a young person. So that's one. On the is that again, the bottom line, why people don't try and find more ways to figure out how to work together and get along, because we're more alike than we are different. I know that to be a fact. That's why I love sport. When you put on a uniform, generally, bam, we're on the same team, man, and everybody's not with us is against us. On kind of I guess still a personal but somewhat of a business front, and you and I probably see this a lot, is that the amount of detachment that people seem to have about their financial well-being. So I say I'm a coach for your financial well-being. I don't
tell me more about that. What do you mean by detachment from their financial well-being? Help me understand what that means.
Well, one of an ability that someone like you and I believe the biggest ability you might have would be to just have people have an objective conversation about their plan. So I say I'm a coach for your financial well-being. Let me give you one. Okay, coaches, especially football coaches, I know will go to the office and they'll stay there late at night. They'll stay there till wee hours in the morning because they believe in planning. They believe that in the absence of a plan, you're leaving some things to chance. So they're looking for an area of opportunity to take advantage of, or an area of deficiency that needs to be addressed. So when I say detached, is that I believe that people should reach out to someone that they can talk to and they're comfortable with, period. I believe in coaching. I believe people need to be coached up. I believe in getting coached up. I get coached up. But why people will not take the time, because they either think they're good, or they think it's too complicated, or they have distrust, or they're waiting on the next big event to happen to apply the same tenets that great coaches do to their financial plan, their financial well-being plan for the benefit of themselves and the people that they love and the community that they want to serve. So, I mentioned money helps you serve the community. I know you serve the community. I know a bit about your history. And I've always been tapped on the shoulder to do more than whatever my business was. I coached for 10 years around here in, Southern California, 10 years year round. I didn't do it to get notoriety or be this cool guy. I did it because I wanted to help the kids. I wanted to make an impact on kids. I now serve on, I think, 5 nonprofits. I didn't run for those. I didn't run and I'm on the board. I just got elected to the board of our group. I didn't run or lobby or politic for those things. People saw maybe something in me on how I was or my intention and say, hey, Glenn, can you help out, with this? And so I would love.
Glenn, he'll say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I figure, the good Lord won't give you more than you can handle. But if you, to pay attention to have an objective conversation with someone that you're comfortable with and see if you have an area of opportunity or area of deficiency like great coaches do all the time. They won't leave anything to chance. Why would you leave it to chance in the biggest game plan of your life? You only get one chance for. You have to get right. Why wouldn't you do that? And so I think our biggest skill set is to have people, and I know there's, you're inundated with information from the news broadcasts, and you can't walk out the door without tripping over guys who say that they know something about this. But find someone that, that you're comfortable with, that you can talk to, and just have a dialogue with them. So I ramble.
Well, you mentioned something that I find very, I was going to say curious, interesting. I'm trying to paint it perhaps a little more nicely than it deserves. But you mentioned all the information that's surrounding us around financial stuff. I mean, I remember when the upward and downward movements of the securities markets weren't a matter of nightly news. Now it's 24/7. And not that more information is a bad thing. I'm not suggesting that, but the agenda of the providers of that information can be a little bit misleading. CNBC does not have my net worth at heart. Money Magazine is not an advisor to me or to my family. They are in the business of capturing eyeballs. That's how they make their money. The more eyeballs that watch their show or read their publication, that's what allows them to charge more rates for advertising. So that's the business they're in, capturing eyeballs. If Money Magazine was in the business of providing sound financial advice, they would have on their cover every month, it would say, buy a diversified basket of the great companies of America and the rest of the world and be patient and hold it long term. In 3 months, they would be out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Out of business.
Yeah.
Because people say, oh, I read that. I don't need that. So it's that cross of sensationalism, entertainment, and capturing people's attention. The 4 stocks to buy now, those kind of articles.
Yeah.
So yes, the information is wonderful, but it's a lot of it is just noise. And so the role of someone who's going to sit and counsel and coach with other folks is truly important. Now I understand, and you probably encounter this too, but there are those who say, no, I don't want to go talk to that person because that person is just trying to sell me something. Okay. And that's also an unfortunate byproduct of the industry that we're in, because there are many firms that at their center, at their core, they're a financial manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
They manufacture some type of investment or insurance product. we don't have any problem distinguishing, between advisor and salesperson in other realms of our life. We know that our doctor is an advisor. We know that our accountant is an advisor, our attorney. And we also know that when we go down that particular street in our hometown where all the auto dealers are, I know for a fact that when I walk into, and I'm not picking on Ford, but when I walk into a Ford dealer, I know for a fact that the person that I'm talking to is not going to talk to me about a Chrysler, because it says Ford on the door when I walked in. So I know that that's what they're going to talk about. I don't have the illusion that the person on the showroom floor is an advisor. They are there to get me to buy the vehicle that's on their floor. That's their job. And I get it. I understand it. My shields are up when I walk in. I know. But you know as well as I do that there are folks in our profession, good people, well-intentioned people, but their primary objective is they've got something to sell. And yet our industry has done a wonderful job of trying to make us all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're all advisors. Well, not necessarily. And the challenge is for folks to find people who do act that way. Now, you have developed an interesting specialty. If folks were to look you up online, they would see the letters CDFA after your name, which, if I'm correct, that stands for Certified Divorce Financial Advisor.
Analyst.
I knew it was something close.
Very close.
How did you get into that as a specialty, and what does that mean? How does that make you different from just another run-of-the-mill financial advisor like me, for saying?
Well, you're anything but run-of-the-mill, my friend. Okay. And the time I've got to know you, become a mentor, to me, and someone I definitely respect. Largely because we have the same mindset and intention when it comes to working with people. Okay. Am I in business? Yeah, I'm in business, but we're both financial fiduciaries. And that's a word that's banning around now, but it means that we can't talk to people or present things to people that aren't in their best interest. And when I say I'm a coach for your financial well-being, as I know you are the same, I don't want to be your coach unless I can help you be in a better position. Just like your baseball coach used to go to, or your football coach, and to me, that's kind of a sacred thing. Although I know sometimes it's been abused maybe here and there, like anything else. But for the most part, a coach is a very, very positive impact, on your life. And I don't want to be your coach unless I can help you to a better place. But the answer, to your question on the CDFA. So I was divorced after 24 years and raised three, beautiful, young adults, and found myself in a situation that, that needed change. And I would say that it's tough to change your life when things aren't going well. It's tough to change a job that you don't like. People stay in jobs they don't like. You and I love our job. People stay in situations that that are just bad situations because they don't want to change. It takes a lot of courage. So I changed my life. I am proud of that, and proud of raising the three beautiful kids that that I did. Wasn't looking for anything else, and as you mentioned, the beautiful Zaville came in my life, and now my life has changed. Remember, Bob Marley said, "Could you give love and could you be loved? And if you couldn't do those things, you may as well be dead inside." So I turned lemons into lemonade. I was approached by a group that's out of Boston called Vesta Divorce that had looked at changing the way that people are being helped through divorce by putting together hubs of professionals of the type that you need when you go through a divorce. You need a family attorney, or you need a mediator. You need a CPA. You need a finance person. You generally need a realtor, a mortgage lender. You might need a life coach. You might need a
unique specialties, just like that. So, in the experience of your practice, is there a most frequently asked question? I mean, what is the most frequently asked question you get as a certified divorce analyst?
So as a CDFA, people want to know if they're going to be okay. So again, I was approached. I got into it early on. Helped establish the beachhead in Southern California. I took this tremendous. I probably studied 200 hours to pass, this test as I did my Series 65. Become someone who can, manage stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and charge for advice, and be classified as a fiduciary. So it was a tremendous amount of study. Even though I was already in financial wellness, and I mentioned 8 things, I was going to say I needed all of those things, but none of them were connected. So now I'm associated with an organization that connects all those skill sets that people need, and we put on educational, no-cost, events so they can learn. All of them, when it comes to the finance side, what you're doing is dissolving the family enterprise. You're dissolving the family business. And whether you are in the financial wellness business like you and I are, it doesn't mean you know a thing about marital asset division.
Right.
So people want to find out.
This is an interesting challenge that folks face, because just because a marriage is ending, it's not like you're taking a business. Okay, we're done with this business, and we're no longer going to pursue it. Let's burn it to the ground. No, no. We're all going to live life. Life goes on after this marital enterprise is finished. How do we do this in such a way that we can move forward positively from here?
Yep. So they want to know how they're going to live. They want to know, how can we divide these assets in the most equitable way for both of us, and the least costly way, because there may be things like retirement accounts. Could be 5 or 6 or 7 retirement accounts.
Right.
Which can only be divided with an instrument called the quadro, by the way, which I also am able to produce quadros.
For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a qualified domestic relations order.
Exactly. Very good. You got it. And that allows a retirement plan to be split somewhat to the non-participating spouse without incident of tax, as long as it goes to another like account. Okay. And so looking at even businesses, we have to value businesses. We might have restricted stock units, stock warrants, pensions might be involved, which need to be valued. And then as well as I do, Gary, that all assets are not the same as far as their tax implications. Some are taxed at a higher rate. Some have more risk. So how do we take all these things? And I would simply say it like this: if you play chess, you want to know how the pawn moves and the value of the pawn. If you want to know how your rook moves and the value of that rook. And it's okay to sacrifice that rook if you know you're doing it for the right reason. The same thing in negotiating your financial settlement. You need to know the value of everything, the tax implication of everything, and moreover, how do I make sense of my new financial normal once I negotiate this settlement? So
that's an amazingly complex and yet wonderful service that you provide. Now we're coming up to the end of our time here now, and I would want to ask you, and I totally admit this right up front, I'm ripping this question off from Mr. Tim Ferriss, who asks it regularly of folks. If you were given the opportunity to put up a billboard on the 210 freeway, and everybody in the San Gabriel Valley would drive by and see what you put up on that billboard, what would your billboard say?
Oh, what a great question.
You can
I
see why
find myself annoying some big questions, but that's a heck of a question. Wow.
I'll tell you mine when after you've told me yours.
All right. I'm gonna go with could you give love and be loved?
Okay.
Make it simple.
Bob Marley, I love it. My billboard would say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
That's beautiful.
So listen.
Can I give you one more? Can I give you one
What's
more
that?
in words? Can I give you one more in 3 words?
Yes.
Visualize, affirm, and actualize. Visualization and affirmation equals actualization.
That's a great way to end our time together here today, Glenn. Thank you so much for taking your time to visit with me today, and I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you at the next Oneonta Club.
Thank you so much, Gary. I really had a great amount of fun today, and
All right.
look forward to seeing you as well. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right.